So you want to make a duchy building in Crusader Kings for version 1.16. Firstly, I want to say thank you to everyone who voted in the poll for making this video in specific. Please vote on the next poll that I will be putting up just after this video is uploaded. So for this tutorial, we will be making a new mod, but you can follow along if you have followed the previous building tutorials. I will tell you what you need to do in terms of making new files or editing the ones we've already made if you're following from those last tutorials. So the first thing we're going to do is go to mod library and then click on upload mod. I'm going to go create a mod and we're going to name it test duchy building. And then we're going to put the version as 0.1 and then put the directory name as test duchy building as well. So the same as the mod name. I'm just going to put some tags in there. So I'm going to go gameplay and balance. And then we're going to click create mod. And then if we go to a empty playset and then add that mod to the playset and then click on the three dots here and go show in folder. And that'll come up with our mod folder. So this is normally found in Documents, Paradox Interactive, Crusader Kings 3, Mod, and then your mod name. So inside of this folder, we're going to go to New folder, and then name it Common, and then another folder and call it Localization. And then inside of Common, we're going to make a new folder again and call it Buildings. And then inside of that Buildings folder, we're going to create a new text document and call it 00 test duchy buildings. So anywhere where the test is located, you could change that variable to whatever you like or whatever your mod name is. We're just making it so that it is different from the base game files. And then if we go back to the base of the mod into localization, and then we make a new folder inside of here and call it English. And then inside of English, we make a new document here called test buildings L_English .yml. So this is not actually a text document, it is a .yml file. So what we need to do now is go back into the base game folder and then go to common buildings and then open up the txt in Visual Studio Code. So once we've got that open in Visual Studio Code, the first thing we want to do is change this from UTF-8 to UTF-8 with BOM, following those steps I just did there. So clicking down the bottom right here, select encoding, save with encoding, and then UTF-8 with BOM. We want to do the same thing for the YML file, so save with encoding, UTF-8 with BOM. Now inside of the txt file, we're going to make our first building. So I'm going to name it test_duchy_01 equals curly brackets, and then we're going to add a construction time. So we could do slow or very slow construction time. I'm going to put it as slow. And then we're going to add a can construct potential. So can_construct_ potential. So what this does is that it makes it so that it'll either show up or won't show up in the construction menu or the UI based on what you put inside of this code. So I'm going to put it as building_requirement castle city church. So this is a feudal requirement. And then inside of here, level in full caps equals 01. So if you have a castle holding, city holding, or church holding of level 1, then you can build this. And then we're going to also put in building_requirement_tribal equals no. So if you aren't tribal, then you can. And then we'll also link it to a faith doctrine. So faith equals curly brackets and then has_doctrine parameter. And then we'll link it to a faith with sky burials. So sky_burials_active. So this could be any parameter that's inside of a doctrine, but I'm going to be using sky burials as a example, but you could actually make your own parameter inside of the doctrines. And I could make a tutorial on that another day if you're wanting that. And then outside of the can construct potential, we're going to move on to can_construct_showing_failures only. And then we're going to add in the faith again. So faith equals curly brackets and then has_doctrine parameter equals sky_burials_active. And then we're going to, outside of there, put in is enabled. So is enabled equals curly brackets county.holder equals curly brackets and then has_title equals prev.duchy. So if you are holding the duchy title that you're trying to build this building in, then you can build it. Then outside of the is enabled, we're going to put in a cost_gold. Then we put it as expensive_building building tier 3 cost. So this is the same cost as most of the other duchy buildings. You could lower or make it higher depending on how strong your building is or weak it is. And then we're going to move on from that to duchy underscore capital county modifier. So this is a modifier that is applied to every de jure county within the duchy, and it can only be used for duchy buildings. So we're going to put in a county opinion add of 5, and then a epidemic resistance equals 10, and then under this we're going to have a character modifier. We're going to have monthly underscore income. We'll put it as 0.1, so 0.1 tax per month, and then a monthly underscore piety of 0.1. You could add any variables to these that you like. I'm just going to use some examples. So stress gain multiplier equals negative 0.1, so 10% decrease in stress gain. And a clergy opinion, so we're going to have it as 5. So what we're building right now is very similar to the charnel grounds duchy building that is only available to religions that have sky burials. And then if we move on to next building, so if we want to have a leveled duchy building, we can then put in test duchy 02. So this is the second level of the duchy building that we haven't made yet, but we will soon. And then we're going to add in a type underscore icon equals, and then I'm going to use icon underscore building underscore tower underscore of underscore silence dot DDS. So this is the Tower of Silence icon. The way that you could find some more of those is going into your file explorer, going into the base game files, into game, into GFX, interface, then icons, scroll down until you see building types, and you've got a whole bunch of building types icons in here. So the one I'm using is the Tower of Silence.dds here, and that looks like this. So I do recommend, if you are going to use the base game assets, to look at all of them before you put them in. So after the type icon, we're going to move on to type of building. So we're going to be making a duchy building. So that's the type we've got here. And then an AI value. So the AI value is how likely the AI within the game is going to be building this building. So we're going to have a base of 20 with a modifier of factor equals 2, and then the scope holder dot capital underscore province. So if the holder's capital province is this, so equals this, then it will have a factor of 2, so a much larger value. And then below this, we'll add another modifier, factor equals 0, if there are free building slots. So free underscore building underscore slots equals or greater than 0. So if there are more than 0 free building slots, the AI will not build this building. And then to build a level 2 duchy building, what we want to do is essentially just copy the first one, put that below, and then change the names, and also change the values. So the values we're changing here, we're going to change this to tier 4 costs, and then we're going to increase the values here. So 10, 15, 0.2, 0.2, 0.15, and then 10. And then if you want to make another level of this building, you could change this to 0.3 and add this below. But I'm going to just have the second level just for the example. You don't actually need a type underscore icon either, so you can remove that. And then you can also remove the modifier, as the AI would have already upgraded or built something else in every other slot before the level 1, so you don't need it for the level 2 as well. All right, so this is the text document done for the duchy buildings. We can move on now to the .yml localization file. One thing I will say as well with this .yml file, if you are following from the last tutorials, just use the same buildings YML file that you used in those tutorials instead of creating a new file. So inside of the localization file, we want to do L underscore English colon, and then below that we want to have building underscore type underscore test underscore duchy underscore 01 colon, and then quotations test duchy building type. And then we're going to have a description for the type of building. So it's building underscore type underscore test underscore duchy underscore 01 underscore DESC colon, and then the building type description. So these, I'm not going to write out a description or name for my building, but you guys can just swap these values out. And then below that, we're going to add the building underscore test underscore duchy underscore 01. So this is the actual name of the levels and the description of the level. So test duchy level 1. And then the description for that, so buildings underscore test underscore duchy underscore 01 underscore DESC colon, and then quotations level 1 description. Now we need to add the level 2 of that. So building underscore test underscore duchy underscore 02 colon quotations level 2 building, and then the description of that. So building underscore test underscore duchy underscore 02 underscore DSC colon, and then level 2 description. So that is all we actually need for the Duchy Buildings in terms of the stats that are in here and also the localization, just making sure as well we do have the UTF-8 with bomb, otherwise this localization will not work. Now it is time to upload the mod and test it. So when uploading a mod, you want to go to mod library, then click on upload mod, and then find the mod that you were just working on. So in my case, test Duchy Building, upload it to the Steam workshop, have at least 10 characters in the description, click upload. Once your mod has been uploaded, we can now go to Steam, Workshop, files you've posted, find that mod you were just working on and subscribe to it. Then once it's downloaded, you can add it to the current playset. But make sure as well that you aren't using the on-file edition as well. So just have one or the other. I prefer using the Steam version. And now since that's downloaded, we can now click play. So once we've launched the game, we can click new game. Go into any age we like. Once we're in game, I have a specific code where I need to find a religion with sky burials. So if I go and click on this guy here, which this religion has sky burials as a funerary tradition, and I need to get the duchy holding as this guy doesn't currently hold the holding. So if I go here and during testing, I can go take realm, and then I should be able to find at the bottom here test duchy building type. So these modifiers are all working here, so I can just give myself some gold and then make the building. Instant construction, level 1 description, level 1 name with all the bonuses, and then level 2 has an increase of all of them with all of the named and description in place. So that is the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Like if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more tutorials, and also let me know if there are any tutorials you would like to see in the future. Cheers!